This is going to be the install of the Synergy front track bar relocation bracket along with the Synergy drag link flip kit. So according to Synergy, to use the flip kit it requires the front track bar relocation bracket, and currently I have the Krawler 3.5 inch Mid-Arm Flex System. Not the Plus or not the X Factor, just the regular 3.5 inch mid-arm system. So what I'm going to have to do is figure out when I move this track bar up, I basically made sure that I have 4 inches of travel on the springs before the bump stops hit. And you basically want to make sure when you go up 4 inches, which is about here, I check the transmission lines and everything, and while it's lightly touching, it's not going to be in any harm's way of damaging the transmission lines or anything. I also took a measurement, so the Krawler front track bar relocation bracket and the Synergy one is off by like 1/2 inch, so it's actually pretty close. I know Krawler recommends to not use other lift kit components, but I chose the Synergy one just because of the reviews and everything. So now I'm gonna have to figure out how it's gonna work, because it requires to relocate the mounting point for the front sway bar on the passenger side. So it's going to mount to the new bracket. So that's something I'm going to have to figure out here in a minute. For right now, you disconnect the front track bar and you basically just bungee cord it out of the way so that you can put the bracket on there. Once you have the front track bar out of the way, next thing to do is go ahead and disconnect the front sway bar link at the bottom on the passenger side. Alright, so with the sway bar link out of the way, you basically twist this bracket into place and it fits right over the factory location. And then we're going to be bolting it right here using the supplied bolt and spacer on the inside, and that will be the next step. So when you're looking at the kit, if you don't have like a measurement type system for your bolts and everything, it's going to be the largest of the 3-inch bolts with the nut at the end. As far as the spacers go, it's going to be the shortest spacer you have. And of course, if you get the largest bolt, it's the only one that's going to fit through that spacer. And what we'll do is put the spacer in the location where the factory track bar used to be on the inside, feed the bolt through, and then use the supplied washers and tighten it down. Alright, so once you get the big bolt through where the factory location used to be, the next step is to install the 3/8 by 1 inch bolts using the appropriate washers. And you'll basically just snug it down. Don't tighten everything yet per the instructions from Synergy. And I'm going to take care of those bolts. Here is the completed install of the Synergy front track bar relocation bracket, which is required according to Synergy for using their high steer kit or the drag link flip kit. A couple of things I had to do or wanted to do. So with this bracket, you can actually change the steering stabilizer from the bottom mounting location, mount it up here, so that you can twist the bracket on the tie rod up and out of the way to offer more clearance, and that way you can save on busted steering stabilizers on the trail. This was the original location of the front track bar, and it relocates it up about 3.5 inches up here, 4 inches. The Krawler relocation bracket was 3.5 inches. One thing I had to make sure was during up travel, which is 4 inches of travel here between bump stop to bump stop, I guess, was to go up 4 inches to make sure everything up there it clears, which it does. It touches the transmission lines a little bit, but it's just a light touch, and these transmission lines are actually flexible, so those will be fine. What I had to do with the Krawler kit though was that this bolt was too short to go all the way through the Synergy bracket, and there was no way to get the bolt from the inside here. So I opted to mount the Krawler sway bar link as such, basically keeping the original Krawler suggestion. I think down the road I'll try to find the bolt that actually goes through here, and then just put another bolt in the inside of this bracket just to help reinforce it. I'm sure Synergy put that hole there for a reason, so I'll probably have to make a trip to Home Depot and look for a bolt that will fit this Krawler sway bar link and go all the way through, so I can put an extra bolt here just for extra reinforcement. This was actually a challenge to get everything fed through since there's not too much space here to work with. So that would be the install for the Synergy front track bar relocation bracket. So after I've done the Synergy front track bar relocation bracket, next up is to install the Synergy drag link flip kit. So the first thing you have to do is unbolt the factory drag link. So this side came off pretty easy. Use a puller and it popped right out. At the pitman arm, however, there's not much room to work with, and there wasn't much room to get a puller on there, so I had to use a fork and just keep tapping, well, alright, hammering, until it finally fell off. So that's off now. The next step is I don't have a tapered reamer, so I opted to look for a 13/16 drill bit according to Synergy's instructions, and I'm basically going to drill this hole straight out. And I also use the adapter from Synergy. It's like a $10 part. It fits into the 13/16 hole, and it creates the tapered reamer effect, I guess, to allow for the Synergy track bar. As far as preparation goes on the Synergy drag link, basically it says do not mess with the factory settings as of yet until after you install it. I went ahead and put the boots on here just to keep the dust out of here for right now. This right here is the pitman arm connection side, and this over here is the connection on the steering knuckle side. So I've done this, and the next step is to go ahead and drill out that hole to 13/16 of an inch. One thing to keep in mind when you're drilling through hardened steel like this, and to save your drill bits and to make sure it's a clean drill, is make sure you use some type of lubricant. I usually use motor oil. It helps keep the temperature down. It helps keep the shavings from flying all over the place. And be sure to lubricate as you drill through, just to make sure the drill bit doesn't overheat, because once it heats up it loses its edge really quick and you'll start going through drill bits. So I tend to just basically use some motor oil to keep it lubricated. And then the key to drilling hardened steel is a steady, slow RPM speed. Don't drill it as if you're drilling through sheetrock. So this is the Synergy adapter sleeve that goes into the hole after drilling a 13/16 drill bit. It required a little bit of grinding on the inside, and I had to use a puller to kind of ease it in there and lightly tap it. And finally it's in there, it sits flush. So the next step is to actually install the drag link. Alright, so I kind of forgot to take a video earlier. I already put the tires back on, but this is the completed Synergy drag link flip kit, installed on the top of the steering knuckle. And then connection over here to the steering. And it looks like I need to do a little bit job of centering the pivot points to make sure that it's exactly level. Make sure you grease the boots once completed. And other than that, I took it for a test drive. It took a couple of turns to center the steering wheel. And basically what you do is you loosen this nut here, these bolts here, and then turn this right here, and this will basically adjust the pitman arm to get the steering wheel straight, and then tighten this back down and just make sure that it's centered as far as the flex points go. And that's pretty much it.